if that's all right, everyone. And we're going to start with a video presentation from an artist, Ben Wigley. I don't think Ben is with us today. Oh, there you are. He's just about to introduce himself. So maybe I'd better just be quiet and let him get on with that.
Filmmaker from Nottingham. My name's Benjamin Wigley. I'm a filmmaker from Nottingham, the UK, and it's a great honour to be asked to talk with you today at By4, and I'm very sorry that I'm not actually able to be with you. I'm very interested in making expanded cinema and immersive projects that explore the woodland and bring film into the landscape that allows us to have a deep and meaningful connection with our landscape, to have a stronger understanding and create a stronger affection really with the natural world, so that we can help preserve it and make a better place for us all to be. The relationship with By4 first started with a project called Heart of the Wood, which is a project that I was working with the National Trust with to show a multitude of different artistic events and interventions within a woodland site in Shropshire.
Ages back, as old as our ancestors, look at today Mother Earth and says, Mother, we is yours.
And there was a woodland there called Comer Woods, where we created a series of different artistic interventions, and I worked with a collaborative team of a folk singer, a mask maker and performer, artist craftsman, and I'm a film maker and an artist, and so the work ended up being a multidisciplinary work. It was very inspired by a novel called Ridley Walker, written by Russell Hoban, and it depicted a kind of futuristic view on our world today. This project culminated in 3 hand-cranked celluloid film sculptures, which contained a film and a soundscape on each of those 3 sculptures, and they represented 3 of the seasons. So there was autumn, winter and spring, and they are around a walk in the woodland. The final work culminated in a live event, which was the summer performance, and this was a promenade around the woods where there was many different live artist interventions. It offered a unique and dreamlike glimpse through to another world where the green man roams, the white hart watches, Gaia springs forth, and Long Tongue plays a greedy and dangerous game of chance with the woodland spirits. And we invited people to step through a portal and to draw eyes on trees and whir wind wands and soak up the folklore and feel the green man rising in you. And the idea was that we were rewilding people by the end of it. People hang things off themselves, and many of the portraits that I took were inspired by the disgorging leaves from the foliate heads carvings in the ecclesiastical carvings in churches of the green man, and throughout that kind of the lineage of the green man myth really. And By4 was a major part of that. Anna was a wonderful PhD student, came down to talk, and she was also featured in the 16mm film, which I'll show you a clip of.
the forest that we have here is essentially a really large outdoor experiment where you would step in to a portal into the future. Each of the patches of woodland have an atmospheric composition which is what is predicted in the future. This is the atmosphere that we are expecting to have in 30, 40 years' time.
Bifor sort of represented the idea of a future space, because the idea of the project was that it was depicted from the view from the future at the FACE experiment, and it represents the idea of a future atmosphere really, and what we expect carbon to be like in the future and how trees respond to that. That's where the Bifor relationship started, and now it's developed, so Heart of the Wood has expanded. I want it to be a triptych of works really, and the new project is working with the Lapworth Geology Museum and the UNESCO Geopark in Dudley at the salt wells. So really it's kind of exploring the journey of carbon now, where because the project is responding to the Carboniferous fossil collection at the Lapworth Geology Museum. And so there's many of these slides from the fossil slices and making prints directly from those in the darkroom. So I'm bringing those slides directly into the darkroom and making prints from those. And there's many of these prints that we're making. And then there's also a 16mm motion picture film that I'm making alongside that, working with Graham Wharton from the Geopark and Jonathan Clatworthy from the Lapworth Geology Museum.
This unique living planet can only be living because of the chemistry of this one chemical element, carbon. Carbon is the chemical, is the atomic element on which all life that we know is made, is constructed. The abundance of carbon on Earth is one of the key factors that created this as the living planet. You have to be not too close to a star so that water boils and carbon burns. Not too far away so that water freezes and carbon is locked within its substrates. So we're in this Goldilocks zone that they call it around the sun.
And then as an expansion of that, we're looking into the industrial heritage of the area, because I wanted to work with the fossils and trees in deep time and the Carboniferous. But I also wanted to explore a real Carboniferous landscape, so a coal quarry really. And so the Salt Wells Nature Reserve is the coal quarry, and the industrial heritage of that place is well, mainly chain making actually. We're working with some blacksmiths and some chain makers from the local area to create a 16mm motion picture film that will be shown at the Lapworth in November.
You can make a link in about 2.5 minutes. So getting it out, bending it, and then forging it out, and it was done. 120, 130 a day, depending on the size. The smaller the size, the more you can make. It was hard work, you know. But my dad worked in it. He used to make what they call an inch stud. That was about the biggest you could get. After that, you used to have a striker. It was 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 3/8. It went up like that. Went up in 1/16. Well, I used to make 3/4 short link, 13, 16 stud, and 7/8 stud, 15 stud, and I made inch stud as well. And that's with it studding with a piece of bar across the middle. And my dad used to say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's what they used to call double arbor. double hammer. That's 2 striking hammers. It was upend if you got 1 striking hammer. If you got 2 striking hammers, it was double hammer. And the maker, that was my granddad, used to make it. You used to know the heats, pull them out the fire, white hot. They just knock it all the way around, and they used to hit it with a sledgehammer, 7-pound sledgehammers. And I mean, I was brought up with it really, because they got their own place, and I used to go down to my granddad's on a Saturday morning, from when I could remember, even in the pram. And I used to see them making the chain. Well, when I got into it, I knew all the heats, you know, how what the stuff had got to be, how to bend it, and everything. Literally, it took me about a month to get into it properly. And I never had one break, because I used to put on tension, you know, the chain used to be on the tension in the test, and I never had one break. That's how tough it was. The sweat used to literally run down your face, and your eyebrows used to be white with salt. Your clothes were white with salt. Literally, you could get your clothes, you could crack them like that. There's that much salt and bin.
The geology of the Black Country, you could put a spade into the ground and hit a coal seam. I mean, we did that the other day. There's limestone and iron and fire clay all under the ground. The things that you need for the Industrial Revolution are in many places, but in this location, they were accessible with just a shovel. And that really meant that the birth of that Industrial Revolution and then the consequent exploitation of the land was done here before it was anywhere else. To get the coal that they needed, they would mine under their own houses and communities, meaning that the spines of their houses would break and fall into the ground. So they're destroying themselves to achieve the thing that they can sell, but they're only just surviving doing that. It's such a fascinating metaphor, the lessons that you could learn from looking at the history of this area. It's so significant to lessons that you could learn in life.
The exhibition of prints and artwork will be installed in July and will be in the Lapworth until Christmas time. And so the development of that, we're in the middle of that right now, installing in a few weeks. And then throughout the summer we'll be working with the outside space more and more to create the artist moving image work. And as part of the Heartwood triptych, so this would be the deep time Heart of the Wood. We've already made the middle of time Heart of the Wood, and I would like to make a third piece that's set much further in the future. So there will be 3 overall works in a huge project, really.
You're either a human part of the machine, or you're some divine spirit here for some purpose. And if you're here for some purpose, what is that purpose? I mean, we're surrounded by this planet Earth, and we're surrounded by all our obligations in our society.
Essentially a really large outdoor experiment, a portal into the future.
If you want to find out more about the projects, then please come to the Lapworth show, which will be from August really, and there'll be screening of the film in November time. If you are interested in finding out more or collaborating in some way, then please get in touch. Thank you very much.
I think it is appropriate to applaud, even though Ben's not here, just to show our appreciation. What an explosively creative and imaginative person Ben is, as I think comes through really, really strongly in that piece. We're going to have to move quite quickly on, but just a quick shout out to those members of BIFOR who put themselves, I think, out of their comfort zones quite significantly to take part in Ben's film. I think it made a really strong impression. I now want to introduce Emma Ferranti, who's an associate professor in the School of Engineering here and a long-time researcher on urban sustainability and particularly on green infrastructure or the urban forest and urban sustainability. So I'll hand over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Rob. I've been trying to think of an appropriate segue from that particular presentation into what I'm going to do. Can you hear me? I think it needs to be higher. Yeah, perfect. Okay, how am I changing slides? Yeah. Okay, so I think the most exciting thing about By4 is the collection of multidisciplinary work that it brings together, but now we're on to something completely different. My name is Emma Ferranti and I work in the School of Engineering. I've also run a network for the last 4 or 5 years now called the Trees and Design Action Group. I run it with a colleague in London. And TDAG is a network and charity that brings together individuals and organisations to share and produce information to support the planting of trees in urban areas. So we have workshops and webinars online, we respond to policy consultations, and we produce best practice guides. We have a whole range of guides. If you're working with any urban tree